The life of a regular student named Johann took an unexpected turn when he came into possession of a powerful ring. During a special lecture by Mr. Luke, an archaeologist and chairman of the Bai Group Company in Johann's class, the story of the Battle of Muyi was recounted, where the army of Zhou triumphed over the army of Daishin. It was during this lecture that an observant international student named Tattoo from France noticed the ring worn by Daishin's bronze human figure. Mr. Luke was surprised by Tattoo's keen observation, emphasizing that the ring held significant importance to Daishin. Tattoo inquired if the ring had been recovered, but according to Mr. Luke, its whereabouts remained a mystery. While most students were engrossed in the lecture, Johann, unfortunately, found himself dozing off behind them. His classmate Leo woke him up and offered Johann something after school. Johann initially declined Leo's offer due to his job commitments, but when Leo mentioned the substantial amount of money involved, Johann began to reconsider. After their class, Johann visited his mother, who was battling a serious illness since his father's sudden demise 5 years ago. Johann had been working tirelessly to support his education and cover his mother's medical expenses. During his visits, his mother persistently inquired if he had found a girlfriend. The nurse eventually reminded Johann about settling the hospital bills, prompting him to accept Leo's offer out of desperation. He made his way to a construction site, Leo's designated meeting point, where he encountered other men armed with weapons. Leo presented a ring to Johann, who recognized it as the same ring Daishin had worn. However, Johann hesitated to wear it, fearing potential harm, as he had experienced before. Leo attempted to persuade Johann, and as part of the deal, promised to cover all of Johann's mother's hospital bills. Just as Johann reluctantly agreed to wear the ring, a woman named Jana appeared and expressed her desire to document the potential consequences of Johann putting on the ring. Driven by Leo's promise, Johann felt compelled to wear the ring, though it appeared to have no immediate effect on him. Leo and the others present initially doubted the authenticity of the ring. However, Johann soon experienced a strange sensation coursing through his body, causing him to kneel in discomfort. Nausea overcame him, and when he opened his mouth, Leo was horrified by what emerged. A menacing entity from within Johann attacked Leo, severing one of his arms and causing him to lose consciousness upon seeing the gruesome injury. To their astonishment, they witnessed the creature steadily growing, revealing itself to be a blood devil. An attempt to repel it with a thrown stone proved futile as the creature vanished. The blood devil proceeded to assault the remaining individuals, including Jana. Jana urgently instructed Johann to remove the ring, but he found himself unable to do so. She tried to assist him, but their efforts were interrupted by the approaching blood devil. Johann valiantly shielded Jana, and in a desperate bid to leave behind a happier memory for his mother, he unexpectedly kissed Jana just as the creature prepared to strike. To their surprise, another man named Dan, who had been with them, intercepted the attacker. This diversion allowed Johann and Jana to escape, leaving Dan to confront the demon. They sought refuge in a fast food restaurant, where Johann's thirst led him to hastily consume a soda. However, he couldn't shake the memory of the Blood Devil's earlier rampage, including Leo's possible demise, which could spell financial trouble for Johann and his ailing mother. Jana extended an invitation to head to the nearest hotel, catching Johann off guard. Upon arriving at the hotel, he was taken aback by the exorbitant room prices, but to his astonishment, Jana offered to cover the cost. This gesture left Johann torn between suspicion that she might also be a monster with sinister intentions and the hope for a positive connection as they entered the room. Jana introduced herself as a journalist from South City Daily and explained that she brought Johann to the hotel to further examine the mysterious ring, still incredulous that it had summoned a blood devil. She began her examination of the ring, recording crucial details, and then asked Johann to undress for a more of being the primary suspect in the incident at the South City construction site. Despite his desperate attempts to explain the presence of the blood devil, Johann's claims fell on deaf ears as the authorities didn't believe him. He mentioned Jana's name since she had been with him during their escape from the construction site. Subsequently, Johann was taken to the Forensic Identification Center where he was confronted with shocking news about Jana. According to May, they had spotted Jana at the construction site, providing evidence that Johann hadn't fled with her. In his desperation to prove his innocence, Johann tried to wait stairs and proceeded to descend. Unbeknownst to them, Someone named John had been watching, and he triggered a mechanism that sent them plummeting further below. Upon reaching the darkened depths, they quickly regained their footing but found themselves in an unfamiliar, eerie environment. They spotted a torch on the wall, but as one of them reached for it, a flurry of arrows shot toward them. Quick reflexes saved them from harm, but the threat continued. Johann recalled his father's advice regarding a light sensor, infuriating Kiba, who felt Johann's delay had endangered May. Amid their argument, Johann urged them to turn off the lights, suspecting that the trap was activated by a light sensor. One of them tossed an explosive device toward the source of the arrows, damaging the camera placed there. John, who had been monitoring their progress, grew furious. It was revealed that Yana was with him. As they pressed forward, they entered another room and discovered the bodies of two women with animal-like heads. May noticed a painting on the wall which Kiba suggested might depict a human sacrifice. Upon touching the painting, a hidden door swung open, unleashing an attack from one of the awakened women. Shortly thereafter, the second woman also awoke and launched an assault, but was quickly subdued. To their astonishment, these creatures could not be killed, no matter what they did. Johann, hiding in the secret room, stumbled upon a lipstick and realized it could be the switch to close the door they had inadvertently opened. They swiftly entered the room, and as the door closed, it transformed into an elevator, transporting them to an antiquated operating room with a woman lying on the bed. They instructed Teba to approach the woman, discovering that she was still alive. She awoke and stood up, her sudden appearance unsettling the group. Recognizing her as the actress Lily, they contemplated getting an autograph, but May urged caution. May questioned why Lily was there, but she could only cry in response. Johann noticed a wound on Lily's neck and warned the group to stay away. To their shock, she revealed her true nature, transforming into a monstrous entity and brandishing a weapon. When Lily attacked May, Kiba intervened. Johann suspected that she was not the real Lily, but she laughed, asserting her authenticity. To their astonishment, Lily divulged a secret about the wealthy's desire for immortality and how she had used her beauty and connections to fulfill this dream. She confessed that fewer than 1% of the country's billionaires were privy to this secret and underwent the procedure. Annoyed by being awakened by ordinary individuals, Lily prepared to attack, only to be intercepted by the group's captain. Lily rapidly healed from her wounds, shrugging off the barrage of bullets. Bullets continued to be fired at her, but they seemed ineffective, merely passing through her body harmlessly. As Lily approached Johann and May, Kiba attempted to intervene, sacrificing himself to buy them time to escape. However, before they could flee, Lily swiftly killed Kiba. When she rose again, the captain managed to shoot her, providing an opportunity for the remaining group members to escape. An explosive device was hurled at Lily before they made their retreat. Concerns arose regarding the captain's fate due to the explosion, and one of them decided it would be better if he were reunited with someone in the afterlife. Shockingly, he shot May in the thigh, suggesting she could be their sacrifice if the monster pursued them. The masked men intended to take Johann with them as they left, but Johann refused, unwilling to abandon May. Consequently, they departed, leaving behind another explosive device. John, furious about the marking left on the switch by Yana, lamented the disruption of the research institute he had been entrusted with by the leader of the Corpse Clan. He recognized the danger if anyone discovered the facility's existence. John, aware that Yana's favored status would shield her from blame, finally locked her up. When Yana touched the railing, John electrocuted her, rendering her unconscious. Back with Johann and May, Johann attempted to tend to May's wound to stop the bleeding. They heard approaching footsteps, and May suggested Johann leave her behind and escape while she confronted the enemy, planning to use the explosives. However, Johann walked toward the approaching threat, declaring that he would deal with it to prevent Lily from getting to May. Johann and Lily soon confronted each other, with Lily preparing to attack. Johann surprised her by agreeing to let the Blood Devil take his body under one condition: that the woman he was with could escape and receive medical treatment. Lily initially misunderstood Johann's statement, thinking he referred to her. However, Johann was actually addressing the Blood Devil. Once the Blood Devil's arm was fully formed, it attacked Lily relentlessly. As the Blood Devil's entire body took shape, it overwhelmed Lily, beating her with a single hand. When the Blood Devil grasped Lily, she attempted a counterattack from behind, but it generated new appendages and severed her weapon. Lily tried to flee, but the Blood Devil swiftly caught her and defeated her completely. It then approached Johann. Meanwhile, those who had left Johann and May decided to rest in one room, plagued by nervousness. Even the slightest sound startled them, and they were on edge. One of them grew irritated and fired his weapon at a rat, but he missed every shot, and the rat taunted him. The rat called for backup, and other rats attacked them. While their companion laughed at their predicament, they noticed large mosquitoes above them and shot at the creatures. One of them attempted to escape, but the mosquitoes apprehended him. May chose to crawl back to Johann, and upon seeing that he was still alive, she lost consciousness. To get her to the hospital as quickly as possible, Johann requested that the Blood Devil initiate their fusion. However, as the Blood Devil began the process, it revealed that it had lied. Its true intention was to consume May's heart as a delicacy once they merged. Meanwhile, John retrieved Yana's cell phone, noticing her constant attention to it and wanting to inspect its contents. As he watched the videos, he was shocked and terrified by what he witnessed: the ongoing fusion between Johann and the demonic entity captured on camera footage. The Blood Devil, elated to finally return and obtain the ring, suddenly found itself under attack from an unexpected assailant. The group's captain, revealed to be Dan. Dan and the Blood Devil engaged in a fierce battle. Despite the relentless attacks from the Blood Devil, Dan managed to dodge them until the devil used its fist to strike him. Seizing the opportunity, Dan tried to stab the enemy with his knife, but it had no effect. The Blood Devil taunted Dan, threatening to take his heart as it had done with Gon and crush his body, just as it had with Ikao. These names prompted Johann to suspect that this creature might be Daishin himself. Johann began questioning the entity and learned that wearing the ring made one a sacrifice. When Daishin returned, Dan asserted that this creature was merely a heart-eating monster. Given Dan's strong hatred for the Corpse Clan, to which Daishin belonged, he was determined to kill his opponent. As he rushed forward, Johann attempted to assist by throwing a stone at the devil, but it merely immobilized him. Dan seized the opportunity to sever the enemy's arm, and when the devil attempted to attack, Dan also cut off the other arm. However, the devil's arms promptly regenerated. When the devil launched another attack, Dan effortlessly thwarted it, continuing their exchange of blows while Johann watched in awe of Dan's prowess. Meanwhile, when Yana regained consciousness, she found herself facing a goat's head. John intended to experiment on her, changing her head, much like he had done with the two women encased in capsules. Yana warned John by invoking the name of the leader of the Corpse Clan, but John remained unfazed, knowing that their leader would disapprove of her actions that had disrupted the facility and revealed the existence of the Blood Devil. Yana reacted by kicking John in a sensitive area, causing him to recoil and his experimental items to scatter. A severed hand with a single eye came to life and began interfering with John's computer. As John attempted to rectify the situation, various traps in the facility were inadvertently triggered. In his frustration, John accidentally activated the laboratory's self-destruct sequence. He swiftly collected his important documents and contemplated taking May with him, intending to offer her as a gift to their leader. As water started to flood the room, amidst the ongoing battle between Dan and the Blood Devil, John seized May, a distressing sight that Johann couldn't ignore, prompting him to scream in protest. Johann's scream briefly distracted Dan, allowing the Blood Devil to strike him and throw him to the ground, poised to deliver a fatal blow. At that critical moment, Johann harnessed the power of the ring to halt the Blood Devil's advance. Although the Blood Devil attempted to fully merge with Johann, he resisted, ultimately breaking free from its grasp. The demon gradually dissolved, bewildered by its unexpected defeat, and Johann's eyes and hands returned to their normal state. Dan believed he knew someone who might have answers to what had occurred, but their immediate priority was to escape the facility. When Johann tried to open the door where May had fallen, Yana unexpectedly fell onto him, provoking an immediate attack from Dan, which she skillfully evaded. Dan, believing Yana to be a member of the Corpse Clan, sought to eliminate her as well, launching another assault. However, Johann interposed himself between them, preventing Dan from continuing his attacks. They began to suspect that Yana might also be seeking escape from the facility due to the marks on her hands and feet, which could indicate she had been restrained by the enemy. Upon noticing the rising water on the floor, Yana informed them of the self-destruct sequence and the urgent need to evacuate. Johann remained concerned for May, but Yana reassured him that she was likely in a safer location than they were. Their progress was halted when they encountered an explosive left behind by Dan's men, and they struggled to determine how to deal with it. Unbeknownst to them, A monster had been awakened within the facility. Dan initially intended to detonate the explosive, but Yana dissuaded him, explaining that doing so would likely trap them inside until they perished. She volunteered to defuse it, and Dan decided to head off briefly. He wanted to take Johan along, but Yana insisted that Johan stay with her. After Dan left, Yana undressed and asked Johan to hold her clothes. She carefully handled the explosive, successfully disarming it with a controlled explosion that left the surroundings unharmed. After she got dressed, she cautioned Johan not to divulge what he had seen on her body. Shortly thereafter, Dan rushed back, concerned that Yana might have harmed Johan due to the flowing water. They resumed their escape, encountering the bodies of Dan's men floating in the water. Suspecting that the awakening mosquitoes were responsible for their deaths due to the noise from the fallen capsule, Yana remained vigilant. Yana swiftly located a hidden passage and they entered it, with Dan opting to remain behind to confront the mosquitoes. Yana assured him that she would leave marks for him to follow. As mosquitoes closed in on Dan, he defended himself with a nearby piece of wood before departing the area to avoid being overtaken by rising water. He eventually caught up with Johan and Yana. As they continued, they reached an area of the facility with accumulated water, and due to the destruction of the path, they had no choice but to swim across. Unbeknownst to them, a monster lurked beneath the water, and it suddenly grabbed Johan as he neared the other side. Yana took immediate action to fend off the creature, allowing Johan to escape its grasp. Although they successfully exited the water, the monster pursued them. Dan and Yana intervened, providing a momentary respite, but the creature continued its pursuit. They raced toward the exit, with only Yana managing to reach it safely. When the monster attacked Johan once more, Dan and Yana tried to defend him, but as the confrontation escalated, a violent tremor shook the area, causing the creature's body to collapse. Dan attempted to use an explosive device on it, but it proved ineffective, and the monster retaliated. The release of a gas from the damaged walls weakened them, rendering them vulnerable. The creature captured both Dan and Johan, intending to consume them, but Yana intervened, breathing fire on it and forcing it to release them. They resumed swimming to escape, but the monster seized Johan again, causing him to lose consciousness. When he awakened, he found himself in a familiar hotel room and saw himself on the news, wanted as a suspect in connection with May and Kiba's disappearance. It was then that he learned May was the daughter of a mayor. Finding a letter from Dan, Johan discovered an invitation to meet for more information about the ring's mysteries, marked on a map. 10 days later, he visited his hospitalized mother. Knowing that news of his situation had reached her, he assured her of his innocence and determination to prove it, then eluded the approaching police. Meanwhile, John visited the leader of the Corpse Clan, who turned out to be Luke. John showcased his experiments, but Luke appeared disinterested. When John unveiled his gift, the unmasked May, Luke berated him for involving the daughter of a powerful and wealthy mayor, which could spark a conflict between the Corpse Clan and the public. John explained his actions, blaming Yana for leading outsiders to their laboratory, thus exposing their secrets. He shared Yana's cell phone and its revealing videos with Luke, who was delighted by the information. In return for John's actions, Luke gave him corpse pellets. As Luke approached May, he was startled to hear Yana's voice as she had been casually swimming in the pool. Enraged by her role in compromising the laboratory, John lunged at Yana, but she easily restrained him. Luke returned Yana's cell phone to her for handling the video incident. While John grappled with anger and uncertainty, he felt something unusual happening within his body. He realized that Luke had given him a corpse dissolution pellet, prompting him to unleash his monstrous form and engage Yana in combat. Despite Yana's attempts to counter his attacks, John appeared undeterred.
Then he took out his weapon.
John attacked Yana. She skillfully evaded it, causing John to nearly strike Luke in the face. John, too, harbored anger toward Luke and desired to retaliate. However, when Luke removed his eye patch, inky tendrils emerged from his eyes and swiftly ensnared John. It was revealed that Luke possessed a formidable ability known as the Black Demon, and due to its immense power, John's body left no trace behind. Yana, who had applauded Luke's actions, found herself bound as well, as Luke knew she had used him to eliminate John. Yet Johan and the ring were of little concern to him. All he desired was for Yana to reveal the location of the cultivation site so he could pursue his dream of obtaining miraculous power. During the night, while Johan evaded the police, a car intercepted him and its occupants forcibly placed him inside. It turned out to be Leo's vehicle. Enraged by the turmoil in his life, Johan attacked Leo, who was responsible for his predicament. Consequently, Leo's henchmen restrained Johann and intended to seize the ring by amputating his finger. To dissuade Leo from continuing with his plan, Johann mentioned Dan's information about an alternative means of obtaining the ring, which involved visiting the Tianshu Palace. Leo believed him and promptly set Johann free. With no attire, Johann resorted to taking clothing from a mannequin in a mall to conserve money. He embarked on a bus journey with the elders to reach the Tianshu Palace, but due to his extreme hunger and the complexity of Dan's map, he struggled to pinpoint the precise location. His weakness eventually caused him to collapse, and he heard a woman's cry, prompting him to hide. Pursuing the commotion, he recognized the woman as his classmate named Tattoo. Puzzled by her presence, he decided to tail her and a group of men. Their path led to a cliff where the men aimed to seize a pendant she wore, claiming it belonged to their village. However, Tattoo asserted that she had worn it since childhood. The pendant's pattern convinced the men that it originated from Mount Wei. Tattoo explained that a man had given it to her, and she intended to locate him in the vicinity. Suddenly, a man opened fire.
When the man aimed at her,
resolute in not surrendering the pendant. At this moment, Johann intervened to thwart the assailants' plans. In the ensuing struggle, the pendant was jostled from Tattoo's grasp, causing her to teeter over the cliff's edge. Johann pushed past the men and made a daring leap to save Tattoo, grasping onto the rocks. In his desperate bid for survival, he harnessed the power of the ring, allowing him to cling to the cliff's face. Witnessing Johann's hand and eyes, Tattoo fainted from shock. When she regained consciousness later that night, Johann attributed his earlier feat to a mere magic trick. Unbeknownst to her, Tattoo had read about the immortals of Mount Wei and believed Johann possessed the same abilities. She expressed a strong desire to become Johann's disciple and learn this technique. Yielding to her persistence, Johann agreed, but they needed to leave the area for the time being. As Johann attempted to demonstrate his power again, he found himself unable to replicate it. Tattoo was taken aback when she noticed the hanging coffins adorning the cliff's side, remnants of a burial practice believed to confer immortality to the deceased. Johann remained skeptical, convinced that the coffins merely contained bones within. As Tattoo grew drowsy and decided to rest, Johann's thoughts turned to the day his father had departed, never to return. He harbored resentment, believing that his father's absence had led to their current hardships and his mother's suffering. Fueled by anger, he urinated on a nearby coffin, but as he turned away, he heard a knocking sound. To his shock, the lid of the coffin he had urinated on creaked open. Within moments, a hand emerged, startling Johann, causing him to fall to the ground. When he looked again, a creature he initially thought was a ghost materialized before him. Tattoo, awakened by the commotion, clung to Johann in fear. To Johann's surprise, the creature seemed to know him and expressed a long-awaited desire for Johann to accompany him, evoking fear. However, instead of causing harm, the creature laughed and showed Johann a picture of himself. This revelation triggered Johann's recollection of Dan, whom the creature identified as one of his disciples. Introducing himself as Muxuzi, the creature explained that he was from the Order of Xinjiang at the Tianshu Palace, awaiting Johann's arrival. Upon learning that Muxuzi was currently engaged in the pursuit of immortality, Tattoo implored to become his disciple as well. However, Muxuzi stated that he did not accept female disciples, but hinted that if she agreed to be his wife, he might consider her as a disciple. Tattoo readily agreed, and Muxuzi decided to escort her to the Tianshu Palace. In this newfound company, Johann felt a sense of belonging, envisioning them as a makeshift family. Muxuzi instructed them to close their eyes and cautioned against opening them, no matter the circumstances. They leaped together, but Johann disobeyed Muxuzi's instruction by opening his eyes prematurely. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in a cave, separated from Tattoo and Muxuzi. He observed a group of people dressed in ancient attire, an image reminiscent of a painting he had seen in a laboratory. As these individuals began to attack and consume an elderly man at their center, Johann attempted to approach them, but they turned their attention to him. He suspected that this event had occurred long ago and looked around, anticipating others. To his surprise, he saw no one else, and when he turned back, one of the men stood before him, sniffing at him. Johann punched the man, but his fist passed through the man's body, and he promptly lost consciousness. He awoke later with Tattoo and Muxuzi beside him, who explained that his unconsciousness resulted from disobeying Muxuzi's signal by opening his eyes prematurely. As he stood up, the surroundings became eerily familiar, resembling a place he had dreamt of before. Tatu noticed an engraved stone with the words Pingju became immortal in the vicinity, and Johann recalled that this was where the old man had been devoured. He deduced that Pingju might have been that elderly man, but they soon learned that Muxuzi had inscribed the words. Johann confirmed that Pingju was the elderly man, and his rebellious descendants had formed the Corpse Clan. At this moment, Dan appeared, immediately taking notice of Tatu. Johann introduced her as Muxuzi's future wife. Dan chuckled at the notion of someone like Muxuzi being allowed to marry, causing Muxuzi to employ his trick once more, claiming that he would abandon his cultivation for the sake of marrying Tatu. However, Dan once again revealed the truth to Johann and Tatu. In gratitude for bringing her there, Tatu kissed him, which delighted Muxuzi, who promised to prepare something for them. Johann assumed it would be food, but was surprised to find it was a hot spring. Dan insisted they bathe before heading to the Tianshu Palace. After the bath and while resting, Johann contemplated the enigmatic nature of this place. He couldn't discern whether Dan and Muxuzi were benevolent or malevolent, and even suspected that his initial encounter with Dan might not have been coincidental. This uncertainty left him unsure of his safety in this environment, prompting a desire to explore for more information. However, hunger weakened him due to not having eaten. He noticed light ahead and approached it, discovering a tunnel leading out of the cave and revealing the Tianshu Palace. There, he observed beings similar to Muxuzi, engaged in training with their disciples, showcasing their formidable strength. After vanquishing their opponents, Johann captured an image of what he looked like before commencing his immortality cultivation. His companions hushed him, concerned that their secret might be overheard. They worried about the potential inability to return to their human forms, but one of them held confidence, citing rumors about the 5 masters who had reverted to human form after archaeologists entered the Tianshu Palace 5 years prior. These conversations brought Johann's father to mind. Suddenly, one of the 5 masters, Chun, arrived, and as Johann attempted to depart, another master named Linden halted him. The remaining masters also joined, and Chun was taken aback when he noticed the ring on Johann's finger. He inquired about why Johann possessed the long-lost ring of the Tianshu Palace. As Johann tried to escape, Chun ordered his disciples to apprehend him, but fortunately Muxuzi arrived and informed the masters that Johann was a guest of Xinjuan. Since Xinjuan sought Johann, they went to him, discovering a prepared feast that only heightened Johann's hunger. Johann sampled the food, surprising Xinjuan upon seeing him begin to eat. Dan attempted to stop him, and Linden attacked Johann's table. Then he targeted Johann, ignoring Dan's intervention as Xinjuan remained unresponsive. Linden employed his power, but Johann effectively countered it by releasing his own power. After returning the attack, Linden struck again repeatedly. The duel between the two continued until Johann managed to grab Linden and subdue him. At this point, Xinjuan separated Johann from the others, knocking him down, and they surrounded him with weapons. Chun, noticing Johann's red hair, stirred a memory. Once Xinjuan returned to his seat and arranged chairs, he allowed Johann to sit in the center and asked why he wore the ring from the Tianshu Palace. Johann explained it was an accident and expressed his reason for being there, seeking help to remove the ring. However, Xinjuan revealed that 3 individuals had exploded after suddenly wearing the ring, all perishing instantly with none able to remove it. Xinjuan himself didn't know how to remove it, suggesting that Johann was the first person to utilize the ring's power. He noted that with the displayed power, Johann had surpassed everyone in the Tianshu Palace. Johann had to remain in the palace because Xinjuan had an important announcement the following day. The 4 masters speculated about Xinjuan's announcement, suspecting it might involve choosing someone to inherit his position as he aspired to become an immortal in the sky. Chun had a hunch that this might be the case, and they assigned a colleague to bring Xinjuan a special elixir daily, unbeknownst to them that this was their way of fulfilling Xinjuan's desire to achieve immortality in the sky. Meanwhile, outside the palace, Yana and Luke had already located it, and Yana had discovered the cultivation place. When Xinjuan entered his room and drank the elixir, he sensed another presence and pursued the intruder. However, he was shot before he could apprehend them. Johann and Dan heard the gunshot, and upon reaching Xinjuan's room, they found him dead. The culprit turned out to be a woman. Dan rushed in and was surprised. and Johann was shocked to discover
as
it
it
was
turned out to
Tatu.
be
News of Jinchuan's death reached Chun and the other masters, giving them a reason to seek revenge against the Corpse Clan. After their departure, Luke and Yannick arrived and interrogated the remaining disciple for the location of the cultivation place. When he refused to answer, Luke killed him. Amid the knowledge of Jinchuan's death, Luke grew complacent, believing that no one could hinder their actions. Meanwhile, Johann and Dan uncovered crucial information about Tatu's father, Ayatsi. Ayatsi had been a disciple of the Tianshu Palace, and Tatu sought revenge against Jinchuan for allegedly killing him. She learned of this from her father's letters, which detailed the murder of archaeologists 5 years ago. Ayatsi had made the decision to leave the Tianshu Palace after that incident, and his family had not heard from him since. 5 years prior, the Corpse Clan had attacked a group of archaeologists, including Johann's father Jin. Just as they were about to be killed by the Corpse Clan, Jinchuan arrived and saved them. During the encounter, Jin lost consciousness. Upon awakening, he encountered AI, Jinchuan, and others who had not yet reverted to their human forms. He learned that they were now within the Tianshu Palace. Once they had all recovered, they were summoned to face Jinchuan. However, shortly afterward, one of their colleagues collapsed due to dizziness. Upon returning to their quarters, they discovered that radiation levels were dangerously high within the palace. Jin, aware of Ayatsi's craftsmanship skills, sought him out. Ayatsi mentioned that he had only sent his creations to his daughter, and Jin discovered that Ayatsi had a wife and daughter. Jin wished to request an item for his son, Johann, and Chun scolded Ayatsi, explaining that his actions could prevent him from entering the cultivation place. This indicated that Ayatsi had never entered the area before. At one point, they entered the cultivation place with Ayatsi to investigate the radiation mystery. They discovered the high radiation levels inside the room. Jinchuan confronted them, and Jin attempted to explain scientifically the changes in Jinchuan's appearance and their acquired powers. However, Jinchuan did not believe this information and restrained them. Chun later devised a plan for them to return to their human forms. They decided to bury themselves in the hot ground inside a cave, and Ayatsi secretly provided them with water. After several days, their strength began to wane. The day finally arrived when Shun's method was completed for them to regain their human form. They simultaneously ingested it, with Muksuzi choosing to keep his. Consequently, he was the only one among the 6 who did not revert to his human form. Jinchuan, however, emphasized that their actions went against the law and they should never repeat them. Shan noticed someone peering outside and chased after them, discovering it was a Yazi and killing him. Muksuzi visited Jinchuan's room and presented an elixir made from humans. They also noticed Johann's striking resemblance to Jin, realizing he was Jin's son. In Johann's fury over what had been done to his father, he detonated Jinchuan's room, prompting Dan to rescue Tatu and Muksuzi. Shortly afterward, Johann was attacked by Chun. As Johann rose to retaliate against Chun, the latter swiftly evaded, inadvertently injuring one of his colleagues. Johann's attack was met with the combined efforts of Chun and his companions, yet their powers proved ineffective against him. Johann pressed on, prompting Chun to awaken a feigned colleague. They attempted to chain Johann, but his immense strength allowed him to break free. Chun employed a technique that Johann couldn't avoid, knocking him down. Johann soon regained consciousness, surprising them all. When he prepared to strike Chun again, he suddenly stopped and lost consciousness. Linden moved to kill Johann, but Dan intervened, leading to a confrontation in which Linden overpowered Dan. Linden attempted to use Dan's weapon, but Muksuzi intervened. He pleaded for Dan's forgiveness, claiming he was merely intoxicated. Chun offered potential mercy if Dan knelt before them 3 times, but Dan refused. In response, Chun attacked Dan, and Muksuzi swiftly blocked the attack, resulting in Chun's demise. At the gates of the Tianshu Palace, Luke called his men and allowed them to enter the palace. Meanwhile, as Shun and the others brought Johann to the cultivation place to remove the ring, they attempted to cut off his finger, but the ring reacted, preventing them from doing so. Chun made the decision to take Johann inside the cultivation place. He gathered his disciples and announced his role as their new leader. Chun revealed his plan to create more immortality pills from people to restore their human forms, enhance their strength, and prepare for a confrontation with the Corpse Clan's army. Moments later, they received news of the Corpse Clan's attack. Luke and Yana swiftly arrived at the cultivation place. The disciples closed the room, but Luke launched a sudden attack. Inside, as Johann reminisced about the people he had been with, including his parents, he nearly gave up and closed his eyes. However, he heard the voice of the blood devil and found the will to fight once more. This marks the end of the last episode of The Devil Ring Season 1. I hope you enjoyed it and gave it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss newly uploaded videos. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.